we'll just get started with some introductions and talk about what we're going to cover during this session this morning. So my name is Brijet Myers, and I am the farmers market operator for the Little Italy Mercado Farmers Market in downtown San Diego. We have two weekly farmers market, Wednesday morning and Saturday morning, 8 to 2. The Saturday morning market is the largest farmers market in San Diego County, and we've been around since 2008. It is a family business. My mom started the market in 2008 because she lived in Little Italy and there was no grocery store. So she was a little self-serving and it turned into quite the market. And we're really proud of everything we've done there. And we have some incredible farmers that come down every single week. We are year round, rain or shine, and just bring a lot of great fresh produce to the community there, as well as other packaged food items, a little bit of hot food and non-food. We'll talk about kind of different ways that markets are set up, but ours is really farm and food focused. And with that, I will pass it over to my co-presenters who are both farmers at my market, and I roped them into presenting with me this morning. So grateful for that. Andrew, do you want to introduce yourself here this morning?
Yeah, of course. My name's Andrew Murphy. I run Indian Summer Farm. It's a little 1 acre micro farm up in the foothills of San Diego. I currently do the San Diego Little Italy Farmers Market with Brijet and Mike. I've been doing that for about 7 years now, between their Wednesday and their Saturday. And before that, I did 4 years of markets up in the Bay Area.
Nice. Awesome. All right, Mike.
So hi, I'm Michael Clark. I'm with JR Organics. This is a family-owned and operated farm. We've been around since the late 50s and been organic since the 80s. So I am the director of all sales here. I also manage the farmers markets that we do. We're in 17 farmers markets throughout Southern California, from LA to Orange County, and then there's 12 of them that we do down in here in San Diego. So I also manage the CSA program that we run. We serve about 500 members every single week. They either pick up either at a farmer's market, we do a home delivery service, or they pick up at a drop center. I've been doing farmers markets since I was young, born and raised in the farmers markets, but been serving the Little Italy Mercado since the very beginning. I started managing that market myself and doing it since 2010. So, yeah.
So I wanted to bring Andrew and Mike both on here since Andrew's farm is smaller and he's really a smaller operation, but does a really great business at the farmers market and has 1 million loyal customers that come out to Little Italy every week. And Mike is part of a bigger farm, but big family with like longtime roots in the farming industry and just kind of a pillar in the community. If you're in Southern California, I'm sure you know about JR Organics. They're everywhere and they do such a great business at the farmers market and has really been so great for their farm. So kind of to have a balance of two, because I know when farmers are looking to get into farmers markets, they might think, oh, my farm is really small. Like, should I make that jump to being at a market every week? Or, oh, I'm doing a big farming business with a lot of CSAs and wholesale. Is farmers market a good channel for me? So we really want to talk in this session about just what the process is and what that looks like, for Andrew and Mike as well from the farmer side, from the farmers market operations side, what's required and what operators are looking for farmers that want to join a farmers market, just because it might be a little bit different than what farmers are used to when they do a more wholesale or resale route with their produce. So just really want to share the information with everybody. I know folks are, if you're in a farmer's market too, and maybe you're looking for tips to, have a better display or make better communication or connection with your customers, Andrew and Mike can really speak to that as well. And so we're hoping that everyone will walk away from this session with at least something that kind of helps you moving forward. And then just dialing in kind of the tangible benefits of direct to consumer like sales too, because farmers market is such a great channel for that, to set your own prices and make sure that you are producing what your customers want and getting that kind of real-time feedback at the market as well. Yep, so we're just gonna kind of pop around. I'm gonna maybe MC this session a little bit and just ask Andrew and Mike some questions. I would love to just invite folks if you have a question that comes up. I am watching the chat, so you can just post it in there. I see folks introducing themselves and telling us where they're from. That's awesome. I like to see folks that are from down here in Southern California, and then also it's really neat to see everyone that's just across the whole state. I'm also on the steering committee for the California Alliance Farmers Market, so I get to kind of visit some other spaces in the state and talk to other farmers market managers and farmers, and it's so awesome to see everybody come together for this conference. All right, so we'll just kind of dive into some nuts and bolts and answering questions about things. So I think what we're going to talk about first is kind of choosing a market. So if you're thinking about getting into a farmer's market as a farmer, what is it that you're looking for? What is it? What are things that make it easier to decide if this certain market's going to work? How do you really get out there and find a market for you? And how do you make that connection with the market operator and then getting into that community? So, Mike, I'll start with you. When you're thinking about expanding, I know you guys have been in a farmers market industry for a long time with your farm. When you're looking for like joining a new market, what are some things that you look for? Or if you can think back to when you weren't in so many markets, what are some ways you got out there and found good markets for your farm?
Um, I mean, markets are a lot of work. It takes a lot of equipment, takes a lot of manpower and man hours to do a market. So you really got to think about everything, even down to the small detail. Um, I think scoping out the market, checking it out, walking it, going to these markets and visually experiencing it yourself, is huge. You get the sense of what other people are growing. Can you compete in that farmer's market? How does the farmer's market manager expose the market to the community? I think that's a big one. Um, and then really just checking out the competition, seeing what prices look like. Can you eat with those prices? And then how saturated the farmer's market is. If there's 100 farmers in the market, you probably don't want to get into that one. But if there's room for you and you can find, your small niche, we're organic, so there's a little higher demand, I think, when we go into these markets. But yeah, I think just kind of overall seeing the demographics, making sure people can afford your product in that area, and yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point too, to kind of check out who's already there and what you're looking for on the market operator side. When new farmers come to approach me to get into my markets, I look at their CPC, I look at their certificate and see what they're growing, what they're looking to bring to the market. And then knowing that I don't want to bring a farmer in that is kind of growing the same thing as the other farmers there, unless I have the foot traffic to make sure that both farms can be successful in the market. So in Literally on Saturdays, you guys know we do have overlap. We don't do exclusivity. A lot of farmers market managers don't say, okay, we're only going to have one person, growing strawberries, one farmer that brings in citrus. But we look for something that differentiates you. So being organic or being a small farmer that's growing kind of some different varieties is something that we look for. And then also, what's the foot traffic look like? Is there enough shoppers to make sure that some folks are going to buy strawberries from this farmer, some folks are going to buy strawberries from this farmer, and everyone's going to make sales? So definitely, as a farmer, when you're looking at farmers markets, see what's out there and take a look at who's coming to the market and just have that discussion with the farmers market operator. Andrew, if you can talk about, since you only do the Lily market, I
Yeah.
know you're a smaller operation, but what is it about that market, or what is it that made you decide just to have? Because you were at other markets too over
Mhm.
the past few years. So, what do you look for? What have you found at the market that has made it work for your farm?
For Little Italy, for being a small farmer, you don't want to be stretched too thin. So when you're doing smaller markets, it's great to start out with the smaller markets, because you could do a harvest and a market all in one swoop, but you'll have to do numerous of those throughout the week in order to hit a sales of a big market. So as a one person shop, I'd pinpoint a high urbanization location where, kind of like your mom, there was no grocery stores down there. There's a lot of people, the demographics are there. Um, but at the same time, it's a little bit further. It does take 2 days of of my week, so I'll be all day Friday harvesting for the Little Italy. But can your sales account for those 2 days? And so Little Italy was always kind of, when I moved back down to San Diego, it was the most comparable to the San Francisco markets that I was really used to. The high flow of people. How do I put it? A little bit more progressive in what you can bring. So some urbanizations seem to be, or urban areas seem to be a little bit more progressive with their food. So you can bring a little fancier stuff, unique things that people are willing to try out, and then go from there. It's more in the hillsides, more rural. Yeah, with them. So yeah, so it was just more of like the high urbanization. Location only being 40 minutes away from the farm was great too. And so yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I think those are important things to recognize too, and not something really I thought about bringing different kind of product to the market depending on if the demographic is willing to try new things, which I know in Little Italy we really have a lot of like foodie chefs and things like that. They're looking for that unique stuff. So that's a good thing to think about too. But if you're a smaller farmer that maybe just has some like basic, really like well-known product, maybe you can go to a different type of farmers market as well. Um, yeah, so talking to the market managers when you're looking for a new market, if the farmers here are looking to get into a market, definitely experience it. I think as an operator, if a farmer or a vendor is calling me and trying to ask questions about the market, but they haven't been to the market themselves, for me, that just takes a lot of extra time to explain about the market. So I definitely suggest coming out. I know it's a drive for farmers. A lot of
Mhm.
farmers and that are, on their farm are not close to definitely like the big busy farmers markets that are more in the urban center, but even like rural farmers markets a little bit of a hike for you as well. So I know it takes a lot, but you can look on information and then pick some markets to go check out if you're looking to get into them. But kind of walk around. The farmers are usually so friendly. You can talk to other farms and kind of ask questions about that. They might give you some information about how the market's organized. I know they all talk about the farmers market manager behind our backs. That's fine, but kind of say, oh, this person's really strict and there are rules of this market, but we like it because it's structured. Or oh, this farm is more loose; it's a little more flexible. So definitely both market types of markets exist. And as a farmer coming into a market, you want to know what's going to work for you. Like what's I think the worst thing is to come into a market where it's been, very clearly stated that there are rules and that we follow these things to T, and then trying to be a little bit more flexible. It turns into kind of sticky situation with the market. So I'll say for my markets, the Lily market, we are rain or shine, be on time, and I'm serious about it. You better not early. And then we get inspected a lot because we are a really visible market. We really put ourselves out there and we're huge. And the inspectors, I think, find it well worth their time to come out to our market because they can hit a lot of people at once. Not hit, but like inspect a lot of people at once. And so we do, I am, held accountable for that. And I think the integrity, I find that really important at the market to make sure that everyone's following everything. And so my farmers and vendors know that if they're at the market, they're going to have to do that too. And I look for farmers and vendors that also value that. So I don't know if you guys can speak to that as well, kind of different farmers markets that are out there and following certain guidelines and how that works from the farmer side as well.
Yeah, I had something to include on that.
Mhm.
I think walking the market, talking to other farmers is good. Sometimes it might be a little misleading because they don't want more competition to enter the market. So something that I would look for is like, what kind of vehicle are they bringing? What kind of product and volume size are they bringing? Are they unloading on, 100 cases of strawberries, or are they just bringing 20? Is there room for you to really make your way in that farmers market? So, but yeah, just like Bridget said, I mean, everything, as long as the market manager is behind the farmer and it's a farmer's market, I think it's a great choice for any farm.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I see a question here in the chat too about what time would you recommend is the best time to check out a farmer's market? If you're going to try to talk to the market organizer, definitely like in the morning, by the afternoon, and at the end of the market, like I'm super busy trying to manage the different things that are happening at the market. And like if you come at closing time, me personally, I don't want to talk to anybody at that time. I've been up since like 3:30 in the morning. So I'm tapped out. You're just not going to get the best answers. And also I'd say at farmers markets, the folks that are there to shop for produce and like are really serious about shopping from the farmers, they're there early. So if you're a farmer and you come to a market at starting time, you can see the foot traffic, the regular customers that are there to get the produce. And I think Andrew and Mike can talk about that as well. Just I mean, you should see the line at Andrew's booth that we open at 8 o'clock, and there's people lining up at 7:45 because they're there. They know that. I mean, we're in Little Italy, so parking's terrible, but they can get there. They can maybe get a parking spot. They can come onto the market. They can get first pick of things at the farmers' booths and really have that time to chat until I get before it gets a little crazier. So I definitely think as a farmer, if you're going to start looking at markets, I'd go at start time, and even evening markets too. If it starts at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, just go at the start so you can get a better feel for it.
If you do have time, go in the start, see what they're putting out in volume, and then also if you can check back in later in the day to see if they actually move that volume. I think
Oh
that's
yeah, that's
helpful,
smart.
you know?
Good tip.
Yeah.
um, Yeah, and then I'm visiting a couple times a day. Good point too in the chat to catch the vibe throughout the day. Yeah, definitely if it's an off day. I mean, it's good to come if the weather's not great or if it's, a day that you might not think might be very busy. That's also a good time to check it out because you want to see um, are those days also going to be okay for you at the market and coming, when it's raining. I say when our markets are rainy, yes, there's less people on the street for sure, but there's definitely shoppers out there buying things. So it makes up for, I think it kind of evens out. I think, some of my vendors have said like, you're just going to get varying weather. We're in California, so it's mostly delightful, but those really busy, like sunshiny days where it's perfect and everyone's out there and you're selling out. You just have to balance that against the days that are rainy or super hot or, especially evening market if it's like dark and cold. It balances out like across the year. So try not to take one day as how that market is for you and just kind of spread that out and look at your numbers for the whole year. Um, yeah, so definitely that with checking out markets. And then also just like, are you or someone on your team willing to be a salesperson all day? Because I know some farms, and I have some farmers at my market too, and the main farmer who does a lot of the farming, they are not interested in chit-chatting with the public about their product. And so they do the farming and then they bring a really good staff in, either other folks that are on the farm with them or they hire folks to sell their product for them. And just, I think it's very important to give them a deep knowledge of the farm and how the product is grown, but then put them in the booth at the market because that's how you're going to make those sales is if you don't have to be super extroverted and outgoing and loud and boisterous, but you need to be like friendly and willing to answer questions and get to know people and really make those connections. So I don't know, Andrew, if you want to talk about like how you connect with customers and what that
Yeah.
takes as a farmer.
Yeah, I mean, as a small farmer, that is one of my biggest kind of things I like to elaborate on is when you're so small and you're like one person or two people or even three, like those are the product that, so there are a ton of farms out there. Everybody's doing great. There's veggies out there that look awesome, but kind of what you're saying, if the people aren't into it and they're not selling it and they're not selling their story, they're not selling them either, so they become the product of the situation. So it's not just your veggies that are the product, you at the market are the product too. So Mike's the product at his booth, he has his regulars that come through. I'm a product at my booth. I have my regulars. It has that family feel as you treat it like that. So
Yeah, for sure. I think, this is different than wholesale or putting together CSAs where you can, show people beautiful pictures and show them the farm where it came from and then they come get a box and they're so happy at the farmers market. they're coming in and they're talking to you.
Yeah.
So they're making that connection. And that's what's really like different, I think, about a farmer's market and really special about a farmer's market is that they build these connections and your customers. I know, especially for you two with your farms, I hear feedback about customers that are just like, this is such a great gift to them to come to the market and to be able to make this connection with the people that are growing their food or involved in growing their food. And that's what's really special. That's the whole point of farmers markets,
Yeah.
really. So we can go to the grocery store and we can pick up produce and take it home. But if you can go talk to the people that are really growing it and look at it and ask them for recommendations, that's what's
Right.
really kind of the spirit of farmers markets. And so making sure as a farmer that you understand that and that you are, passionate about making connections with customers as well. Um, yeah, so just making sure. I mean, and some farmers, we have like a lot of farmers that are shy or kind of quiet in their booth, and they still do a good job too. You just need to be willing to make those connections with your customers as they come in, or bring that great team in. So Mike has a great team too. He's there, but his people that work with you in your booth are just great at connecting with customers and answering questions and things like that. So just making sure that you are up for that and really like the rigor of it and making sure that you have the time and space to prioritize being at the farmers market because consistency is really key, especially with produce, because it's something that's on people's grocery lists every week. And
Mhm.
so you really can't be missing a bunch of days during the year because people are expecting you to be there. So understanding kind of that responsibility to the shoppers is important as well.
Yep.
Okay, so just like talking about regulatory things as well, the permits that you need for the farmers markets. On the operations side, I have a permit with the ag department. So I go through a permitting process saying that I'm going to host a certified farmers market. Um, Farmers markets that you might see around are essentially like two events. So I have a certified farmers market permit, and then I have a special event permit, which is anyone who's not a certified producer is in that other section of the market. In California, there's a law that all the farmers have to be together so that the customers can clearly see that that's the farmers market. I will tell you, customers do not realize that that's what's happening, but all my farmers are on the same side of the street. They just have to be contiguous in some kind of group. So I have a certified farmers market permit. I'm required to make sure that farmers are only bringing product to the market that they have grown. That's a law in the state of California. So I'm checking product constantly against their CPC, their certified producer certificate. And if I see something that, I'm not sure, like are green beans on your certified producer certificate? I see them on your table, then I'm going through and Mike's laughing because I'm constantly, especially people who have big certs. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, is that variety of flour on your cert? And I'm leafing through it just to make sure, not in an accusatory way, but just, and then they're like, yeah, it's on here, it's right here. Or I'll say, hey, this isn't on here. And they go, oh, you know what? It just grew in my garden and I brought it to the market to sell because I had some extra. And I have to explain, like, you can't sell that unless it's on your certified producer certificate. Because when ag comes to inspect the markets, they're going to look at all of that stuff and they're going to say, hey, this might have been grown on your farm. But when ag came to your farm, they didn't note that it's something that grows on your farm and that you can bring to sell to the public. So just making sure you understand all of that stuff. I know in San Diego County, we have a really great ag department. They're very thorough and they have a lot of training material on their website when they come out and come to the market. At times over the last 15 years that I've been there, we've had inspectors that have been in a really like gotcha mentality, like they want to like catch the farmers doing something wrong, which is not helpful. But really lately they come out and they educate and they, want to explain what rules we have to follow, even if we don't always agree with some of the rules that they have. They want to educate us about what they are and what we need to do to be in compliance. And yeah, just keeping the integrity of the farmers market is really important. When you're at a farmers market, you're responsible for, you know, folks' kind of perception of a farmers market. So if you are not following those rules or you're doing something that's disingenuous or you're trying to like sneak that product, that resale product in there or something, that is really affecting the way that all farmers markets operate. So it's a big responsibility. And I take that seriously as the operator as well, that we need to like farmers markets are essential to farmers and we need to make sure that they can continue and making sure that they can continue means that we're following all these guidelines. So um, Mike, if you want to talk at all about on the farmer's side, what that looks like following regulations.
Yeah, it's a kind of a big it's a lot of paperwork, right, to get certified and be ready to sell at the farmers market. But really just being truthful and growing the product, working with the county, making them come out, seeing everything that you're growing, putting every single item on the list as much as you can. I know we've ran into issues where sometimes one inspector wants to see it a certain way and the other one wants to see it a different way. So you just have to make sure you're honest and you kind of show them, and they'll make a site visit if they find something on the permit that's not there. They'll come out to the farm, sometimes the following day just to make sure. But it happens, it happens where you grow something and they weren't there, it wasn't grown when they came out, and then it's not exactly on the permit when they come out. But they're always willing to come out and make sure that it's there, and they keep the farmers honest to what they're growing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think that they do a good job of just going out there and making sure. Now, if it is a situation where a farmer has picked up produce from somewhere else that's not their farm and brought it, they also are real good about, dialing in on that, and they'll open investigations and work with the market manager too to figure out what they've been bringing and how. From the market manager side, sometimes it's hard. I don't know if this is, a strawberry that was grown on your farm or a strawberry that you picked up on the way here. So having the ag department as someone that can help, with that in the background is helpful as well. And just always willing to kind of cooperate with that. As a farmer, you don't want to get into a situation where there's any kind of question about that. But having them come out to your farm to just check is good too. Andrew, I don't know if you want to add anything about being inspected and how that works with your farm too.
Yeah, kind of like what Mike was going off of, just being as thorough as you can with your certified producer's certificate. So like, I a couple years back got caught for growing Swiss chard. I thought it was on the list. I've been growing it ever since day one. For some reason, I never added it on the list, and been inspected. Even some ag inspectors missed it, and all it took is one that found it, and then you have to go through the whole snowball effect, and they have to come out, and it's just kind of a hassle. So be thorough, and just make sure every single year you're just kind of going through your itemized. If there's anything new, just adding it in. And like Mike said, just the inspectors want, like they just don't want pepper. They want exact peppers. Those shishitos, you have to name those. You have to, just be thorough, so you don't get caught selling Swiss chard.
Put as much as you can on the list. If it's dandelion greens and dandelion flowers,
Yeah,
put it all on there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, because pea tendrils are different, so it's like all those have to be their own category, So, um, yeah, just don't do any umbrella stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely try it. Like they said, be really specific about different varieties of whatever you're growing. They will catch that stuff. That's their job.
Hmm.
And yeah, with Andrew with the chart, and actually as a market manager too, I'm like, oh yeah, that of course that's on his CPC. I wasn't even like checking really because I thought I had seen it on there. And
Yeah.
so, but it was nice to just say, hey, this is a high integrity farmer. Obviously, he's growing on his farm. If you could go out and just look at it, and then we'll add it on there and amend it, the permit. So they're helpful
Yeah.
with that. There is a question that if there a fine if you miss a crop on your CPC. So technically, there's fines and violations involved with all of these things if that's a situation that arises. The ag department does interpret things. They have a little leeway to interpret them. So, example with Andrew, they know him. We know him very well on the operator side. It was just a matter. It was just like an honest mistake of missing that and adding that on there. They were able to visit the farm. So as the operator, I just got like a warning on my permit that something had been missed. If it's a situation where Andrew definitely was not growing Swiss chard at his farm, maybe they thought I was trying to cover for that, or he was picking it up from his neighbor farmer and bringing it in, and that was found out. Yes, I would get a fine. Andrew would get a fine.
Mhm.
And it would be a violation on my permit as an operator. And then they can deny my permit in the future after multiple violations. And so then I couldn't get a permit to operate a farmer's market anymore. And Andrew wouldn't be able to bring his produce to the market anymore. So I appreciate those kind of hard lines that they draw because again, it keeps the integrity of the farmers markets. Farmers markets have gone through like, a big evolution of resale, like being able to resell on the outside of the certified producers area and then pulling that back, which I appreciate, and just kind of making sure that there's high integrity at the markets. Again, in San Diego, we have I think high integrity markets because the ag department's out there really inspecting farms and making sure. But of course, things get missed. People come in with not the greatest intentions, so kind of keeping track of that. But yes, to answer the question, there's fines and violations involved with that. Um, yes, and then a question about there's no penalty for putting it on the CPC and then not growing it. And I believe that's correct. You can add stuff on there if you're intending to grow it, but then decide not to later. So yeah, always more is better. They will regularly check the farms to see what's growing. So I would check that. And then there are farms that cross certify with other farmers. So you can cross certify with up to two farms, which Andrew does with a farm right now. And that means that you're bringing produce to the farmer's market from another farm, but you have gone through the process with the ag department. The ag department has checked that farm, made sure they're growing what Andrew's going to bring to the market from them. And I do have several farmers that cross certify and bring other farmers' produce. So if you, as a farmer, are not able to come to a farmer's market yourself, it's possible that you could work with another farm that does do markets to bring your produce to the market. Again, there's a lot of strict rules about that. They all have to be clearly labeled and in different sections of your booth at the market. You can't commingle all the produce and make it confusing for the customers because just traceability, they need to know which farm that came from. So that is an option as well. And it works really well for folks that maybe don't grow citrus on their farm. They grow a lot of like leafy greens and things, but there's a citrus farmer down the street, so they can bring a bigger variety to the market.
Mhm.
So that's helpful. Okay, I'm trying to keep with the questions. Some of this stuff we're going to cover in just a minute with our outline, so I'll circle back to that. All right, so that's kind of choosing the right market and kind of navigating the landscape. There's a lot of kind of nitty-gritty things. I want to make sure we answer your questions about sales and display and things. So just make sure that you are aware of so what certification you need, insurance, things like that at the markets. Every farmer has to fill out a load list. So you have to fill out a list saying how much you sold of what variety of produce or flowers at the market. And that's turned into the farmers market manager. And we have to keep a record of that in case there's ever an investigation and they're trying to determine if someone has, two orange trees and they sold 20,000 pounds of oranges in a year. So that's when they kind of are trying to see if you're supplementing and things like that. So those load lists are important. I think that Andrew and Mike can agree with me that they are pain to fill out every week and turn in, and it's a pain for me to keep them organized and filed. And I have to copy all of them and send them in to the ag department kind of regularly. So, but it's important because we're keeping a record of things. So, and then there are some other fees. There's CDFA fee. If there's any market managers in this session right now, I do suggest that you join in the session this afternoon about the direct marketing fees and how they're trying to change that. But it's a $2 fee that's paid to the market manager. I have to collect that and every quarter send it in to the California Department of Food and Agriculture for inspections and things like that. Yep. So just, make sure that you know what the process is for being in compliance at the market. Okay, so now we're going to get to some of these questions too about kind of planning inventory management and then making sales at the market. So determining kind of optimal product mix and product strategy. So like Mike was saying, kind of what can you grow to offset what's already offered at the market or differentiate yourselves. Being an organic farmer is there's not a ton of organic farmers out there in San Diego County, especially doing farmers markets. So that definitely differentiates Mike. Andrew grows kind of really specific varieties of different things too. So that's a good differentiation that makes your product stand out at the market. But guys, how do you determine like what to bring to the market and how much to bring to the market? And Mike, I'll start with you just because you guys do a lot of markets. So how do you make sure that you're not wasting a bunch of stuff at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think to, to have like the goal in mind to sell out, and not bring too much where at the end of the day you're packing things up and you're bringing it back to the farm. You definitely want to have the goal to sell out. I think over the amount of markets I've done, just having really good record keeping of what you've sold in the past. I mean, if you're just starting the new market, start small and build and work your way up to, selling 100 baskets, start with 20, see how it goes. A lot of it is trial and error, but um, as far as like bring your best to the farmer's market, try to make that impression on any customer there. And then just slowly, build. Sales could be up and down. There could be, a sunny day where sales are great, and there could be a gloomy day where sales aren't so, you know. There's definitely trends. First of the month, things like that. Holiday season, things go up. So keep all that in mind. If there's a farmer's market on 4th of July and you grow watermelon, you might want to bring a little extra watermelon for that day. Um, so just, I think overall, record keeping is huge, but start small. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Andrew, how do you determine what to bring and how much?
Yeah, kind of what Mike's going off of, just starting that small. Mine was more of like a trial and error type thing. So, like, for instance, arugula, I could bring 20 pounds of arugula one week. It'll completely sell out. So I jot that down on my, low list, and I have my own records as well. Maybe next week we'll add 5 to 10 more pounds, see if that sells out. And then you start gauging it from there. Um, and then knowing the market too. So like what you were saying, the first for me 8 to 10 is my regulars time. 10 to 12 are more like looky loos, walker throughs. So you want more impulse people. So that's when you kind of start pushing out more impulse buys. So strawberries and bouquets of flowers and so forth. So just really understanding the flow of the market and knowing. Um, and yeah, like I said, mine was just a trial and error. And then now I make sure like people know I sell out of certain things because I only bring a certain amount of things. So I don't have a ton of leftovers. So it's like 30 bundles of carrots, 30 bundles of beets, things like that. And yeah, your goal is like Mike said, you want to sell it out. You don't want to bring it out. You don't want to bring anything home. So just really knowing your customers, dialing it in to how past sales were, and then adjusting accordingly. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice, I think. And
That's
then you guys do a great job. I think all the farms do a great job of kind of having a bountiful display, of course, in the morning and pushing out those sales and knowing which customers are coming when. Keeping an eye on the calendar and the weather and saying, okay, what kind of foot traffic do you think you're going to get here? And just it comes with practice. It's the same with the market manager. Like, how many vendors am I going to have at this market? I got to see what the foot traffic is. So, and then kind of pre-packing as you go and making your table still look like the person, no one wants to get like the last bundle of carrots that's been sitting there all day. So making every customer feel like they're getting something special, even if you're selling out throughout the day. Um, and then, I know different market managers have different strategies for this, but I don't let my farmers or vendors leave if they sell out. So if you are only bringing enough and to sell out at maybe 11 a.m. for a market that goes until 2 p.m. and you're sitting there with 3 hours with nothing to sell, that's also not a good strategy for the farm as well, because you're just leaving money on the table. If there's foot traffic at the market and you're required to stay there till the end anyways, try to incrementally bring a little bit more and reach that kind of sweet spot. And after being at the market for years, you will do a good job of finding that, which both of you guys do, I think, really well. But yeah, you're not just like, okay, I'm going to be there till I sell out and then I'm leaving. That's more like if you have a farm stand at your farm, you can just sell until you're down and then you just go home. At the farmer's market, I can't have people just packing up in the middle of the market and leaving because then it looks like the market's closed. And there's
right.
other farmers and vendors at the market that have brought enough inventory to stay open and sell a lot until the end of the day. So just understanding that and planning your inventory for that. What about like display strategies? Both of you do a really good job of making your booth look really inviting and being really clear about what you're selling and making it look beautiful. So Andrew, you do a good job of kind of like stacking high, make some fly kind of strategy where
Right,
it's
right.
in beautiful barrels and things. So maybe give some tips for that.
Yeah. So yeah, I have everything. I don't just put a table out and just throw produce on the table and let it just sit there. Everything has a shelf or a basket or a crate to go into. So this actually like minimalizes that that abundance feel. So you'll have say 20 bundles of or 20 bundles of radishes on a table that might look pathetic and just kind of sitting there, but if you put it in a little crate up high, it makes it look bountiful, so they just start kind of flowing off. So yeah, that's a huge one for me is stacking it high, putting everything, and then keeping things in a pretty consistent manner. So I'll always have my salad bags in certain blue totes. If you've ever seen the Sin, it's always kind of like my little salad bar, I call it. So people know if those things are empty, they could either ask or they knew there was salad there. And then the last thing I would add to that is the flow of coming into the booth. I don't really pigeonhole it. I don't put the register right in the center because then that kind of creates a convolution. I kind of start from one end, put the register at another, and that creates an even flow in and out. So nobody's going one way, nobody's going the other way, and then it just kind of flows through. And then color coordinating is a huge thing. So it's like, yeah, there's a ton of greens, but you could put arugula and a salad mix that has purples and stuff in it, and then they start seeing the contrast of that. And rather than putting all greens together, green head lettuce, green arugula, just kind of blends in all there. So you're always just kind of mix and matching colors, displays. And then the last thing I would add is funny to say, but tablecloths are huge. So not having too bright of tablecloths that is going to take away from the colors of your booth. So I use either like a navy blue that helps the greens pop or a black. And it kind of black keeps it neutral. So you're just kind of using the color palettes to your advantage and just make it appealing to them.
Those are awesome tips. Yeah, and your booth is, beautiful. People like post pictures that they take of your booth all the time too, like on our Instagram. And yeah, it's nice. And it makes the difference. Obviously, I mean, people shop with their eyes. And so you want to make sure that what you're displaying is beautiful. It's going to draw customers in. And just, using that psychology of sales, like looking like a big, bountiful booth of fresh things, the colors are popping, that'll really draw customers in and it will increase your sales. I think farmers come in and they have a really amazing product. They have, the best, beets in the whole market, and they come and they'll just throw them on the table and they'll say, "What's the problem? No one's buying them." And it's like,
Yeah.
you have to sell when you're there, especially if you're at a big market and there's a lot of other folks selling beets, maybe you got to really make sure that your customers know that this is special and display it for them. So when they're walking by, it'll catch their eye.
Mhm.
Mike, do you have any display tips for folks and how to, and also you guys do a good job of kind of like, as you're selling out of things or as you're selling down, you pre-pack your booth nicely so that at the end of the day, it's not a whole, situation of packing everything up, but still making everything look really full. So what are some kind of things that you've learned doing that?
Yeah, I mean, farmers markets are kind of my specialty, and selling to the direct consumer. So, we have, I think I saw a question. I have a 40, so it's four 10 by 10, and then I go too deep. So 40 by 20. It's a big stand compared to Andrew. I think he's about half that size. But I do that because of the sun and we need the backspace to really work the product. But displaying product and grouping and sectioning things is huge. I put all my bundles in the same area, all my individual items, so like head lettuce and bundles of beets and carrots and radishes, and I try to group that with the same pricing. So making it easy for a customer to know how your pricing structure works really benefits, I think, on the sale. Making it super colorful, but if you have, a lot of one item and you really need to push it, I do would encourage to maybe put it closer to the front or closer to a salesperson. Since I have a big booth, I do usually run the booth with 4 to 6 people, depending on the time of year. Um, what I find really helpful is putting someone behind the product. At the grocery store, at other booths, there's nobody really behind the product. But if you can put something behind right in front of the someone selling, you're able to sell that product a lot more. You can talk about it. Every customer is going to see it when they walk up to you. So just strategizing where you're going to put stuff. Sometimes if I have a lot of broccolini and I want to push it, I'll make a big display up front. Um, and then I'll also put some closer to the register, so those last little impulse buys, people are buying. Um, I think the flow is also super important. I'm kind of like Andrew. I'm a big make it seem like a grocery store where people can walk in there freely, buy whatever they like, and then come over to the cash register. And there I'll have two cashiers and a bagger, bagging and just making that flow as easy as possible. I don't like that there's some stands that work where they are able to take cash and then that employee goes to the cash box. I feel like they're losing so much time. So if the customer just I give them a basket. I have baskets that I bring to the farmer's market. I say, here's your shopping basket. So they'll take that basket and it does encourage them to fill it up, which what we want. So they'll buy a bunch of stuff, get it, and then come bring it over to us. And just by doing that, being consistent is huge. So product inventory, how you set it up and display, but just having that same cleanliness, having the tablecloths look nice and straight, just showing, the shoppers that you care. And I think that definitely translates to higher sales.
Yeah, I
And
think
then,
that's a great point, making less like friction points for the shoppers.
Yeah.
Farmers markets are not convenient places to shop. You have to check out with every different person, everything that you want to buy. Parking's not usually easy. You have to navigate other folks there. You don't have a shopping cart to push around and put product in there. So yeah, as a farmer trying to make those sales, making it really easy for your customers to see what you're selling, prices, and also having someone available to talk to and to exchange cash or card to buy the product is really really helpful. And I see those farmers are the most successful that do those things that you both do. Just have someone available. Yeah, Andrew.
I just wanted to add to what I really like about Mike's stand too is he really utilizes the hotspots on his booth. So, like he was saying, the broccolis and stuff, kind of right at the entrance when you walk in, that's going to be a hotspot. So people are always just going to be attuned to that. They also use like a nice center table. So they do like a little horseshoe and then a center table, and that's usually a very high value product. So whether it's strawberries, tomatoes, anything that is going to be their best selling point. So that's what I really noticed with Mike. And then, like you said, he always has somebody there either sampling that product or just talking about it
Yeah.
and what the varieties are and so forth. Good job, Mike.
Good job, Mike.
One thing that I'd like to add to that, I mean, I think is customer service is how you're going to win these customers over. It takes a lot to come out to the farmers market. I always appreciate every customer because they can easily go to the grocery store and easily they're open 7 days a week. We're open for 6 hours or 8 hours, one day a week. So any customer that walks in, you got to appreciate them and really let them know that you're here for them. So if it's opening the bag for them, helping them select the right basket. That's the thing that's going to set us apart from the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we have to pay for employees working the booth, but it helps that much more to make that sale. Sampling is huge for me. I do like to sample things. So if we're sampling a Japanese turnip to let people try them. You'll triple your sales if you can sample a product. It takes a person to do it right, to have, the right sampling toolkit, but and explaining the item, but you'll sell more. Obviously, we want to sample the right thing to make it worth it. So mainly we're sampling our tomatoes and our watermelon, our strawberries, the high value and volume items. But if you have the time, if you sold out of all those, sample something different, build a clientele on a different item. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good point with sampling too. A lot of farmers and vendors that bring a food product to the market always ask about sampling. And I always say sampling is such a great strategy, especially with the produce, because folks that have maybe not shopped at farmers markets often, they've literally never even like tasted a strawberry or a tomato, what it really tastes like. Because if you're getting it from the grocery store, you don't know what a tomato tastes like. So getting that in their mouth is really important. But remembering that people at farmers markets treat it like a Costco sometimes and just have like a sample buffet. And so if you're just standing there handing it out to everybody walking by and not talking to them and not explaining about your product, that's going to end up being a big cost on the back end because you have to pay for all those tomatoes that you're cutting up and sampling, right? So really having somebody out there, and yeah, like, Mike does a great job with his staff out there saying, hey, this is a tomato, this is organic, this is saying some things about it. Maybe they put a little olive oil on it, some salt and pepper, and show them how to, eat it. And just having conversation with them is really helpful because you'll make that sale as opposed to just someone zooming by and just putting food in their hand as they walk away. So strategically sampling is important. But I know we had this conversation too, like during COVID when we weren't allowed to sample anymore. I was like, oh no, like people aren't going to get it, that this is going to be the best food ever. And it ended up being fine. But sampling is really, really important, I think, at the market for sure. Yeah, so really great tips, guys. Thank you so much. I'm just going to hit a couple of these questions in here before they get buried. Um, Okay, so someone's asking about do I have the same farmers at the market every week? Or are there some that come on a different schedule? So at my markets in Little Italy, all farmers are expected to be there year round. Like most of them, we have a year-round growing season in San Diego. So of course, in the summertime, we're getting, stone fruit and watermelon and different things that are a little easier to sell. And in the winter, more and more folks are using hoop houses and things like that and growing really great popular items in the winter as well. So really in San Diego, I don't feel like it's necessary to have seasonal farmers. I will say that I have a date farmer that only harvests certain times of the year. So he's with us November through usually like first week of July. I have another farmer who just has a different harvesting schedule and they take April through June off. And then I have avocados are highly regulated and you're not like allowed to sell them at certain times. And so I have farmers that grow avocados as well as other stuff. So they just don't bring the avocados during those off times. But I do have one farm that strictly does avocados and he's only with us January through like July or August. So when the season ends. So just those three. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, just those three are on like a different schedule. Everybody else is there every single week, year round. Other farmers market managers might have a different schedule. They alternate folks. As a manager, that's difficult for me to manage when people are alternating, especially at a large market, because if I get too many people that are on a different schedule, I'm like, who's going to be here this week when I'm making the map? And also with a farm product, like I said earlier, farm products are weekly grocery list items. And so shoppers are expecting to get something. Now we have to train shoppers that they can't get watermelon in December, but once you train them to like teach to eat seasonally, they're expecting seasonal produce to be at the market every single week. So I really am a stickler with having everyone there every single week because to protect the shoppers and their lists. And then, so how much demand do I get for the market? So at my farmers market in Little Italy, there's, on Saturdays, especially those farmers have been with us for years. I do not have a lot of new farmers at the market on Saturday. I'd say really, I always reserve, I have 30 feet of space that is in the farm section where I just put other, it's at the end. So I put other vendors in there, but it's reserved for new farmers that might come in with something new. So it would have to be something that's really differentiated, or something that I only have maybe one or two growers at the market bringing. So something like microgreens, I only have one microgreens farmer on Saturday. So, and I've had a couple other microgreens farmers come in. But if someone came in and wanted to, have a 10 by 10, that's something that I would get into the market. But I really focus on farms first. I think all market operators are very much aware that shoppers follow the farmers and other vendors follow the shoppers. And so if we want to have a successful farmers market, we need to prioritize farmers and make space for them no matter what. And that's definitely what I do. And I've done it. Other markets that I've run as well is just prioritize making room for farms and just being careful not to oversaturate. Now at the Wednesday farmer, I only have 3 farmers there that are bringing produce items. And I have a flower grower and a beekeeper. So that market, I have about 90 vendors at that market. But I have seen with that market that the growers that I do have there, they grow a deep enough variety where they can kind of accommodate all the shoppers that are there. So I try to grow the markets with the foot traffic. And what I have now is folks that are coming out and they are, making sure that those farmers are all getting great sales on Wednesday. And I don't want to oversaturate it just, because I want to have more farmers on the street. I don't think of farmers as props. I don't put them on the street to look pretty. I bring in people that are going to make sales. So I'm not going to bring more farmers in if those three farmers are satisfying everybody's needs at the market. We have eggs, we have flowers, we have honey, and we have a wide variety of fruits and veggies. If a rancher came in and wanted to sell meat, that'd be great. I'm missing that on Wednesday. Like mushrooms, microgreens, more of those kind of niche farm items is something that I would bring into a market like that. But yeah, I don't just let other farmers in just because I might have space on the street. So yeah, and then people do ask about wait lists. It's not really like a specific wait list, like, okay, you're going to wait 12 months or you're going to wait 3 months. It's more just like, what's the foot traffic looking like? What are you growing? What can you bring to the market? So market managers are all weighing those kind of things. And I wish I could have a 20 block market and bring in 300 farmers, but really we have to grow with the folks that are there to shop. And so and keep in mind, I'm very protective of making sure that my farmers and vendors are being successful at the market and can support their families. So definitely when you're looking at other markets, just kind of ask what they're looking for. Maybe you're a farmer that can grow certain crops that are missing from a market, right? So if you're going into a market and they're saying, hey, we really like, we don't have a lot of farmers that are bringing, you know, dragon tongue beans or something specific that they're looking for. Like we don't have a lot of beans at the market. We don't have a lot of leafy greens. Is that something you could grow more of to bring to this market and maybe don't bring as many berries because we have a good berry farmer. So talking to the market manager and saying, what are your customers asking for? Oh, I can grow that for them. And being that farmer that's bringing that to the market. So okay, let's see here. I think we're hitting good questions. I'm gonna look back at this is great. Great questions, guys. And I see a lot of questions in the chat too, and I want to get to all of them. And we do have a couple things we want to hit. Um, let's see. I think we kind of talked about that. Sales data is really important. Maybe talk for a minute about how you handle weather, like weather at your farm, maybe affecting your crops and then participating in markets during weather, just because I know it doesn't happen a lot in San Diego, but when it rains, it's not so great. And also, folks here are in different parts of California where the weather could be more extreme and more rain and things like that. So, Mike, do you want to talk about kind of how you handle any kind of crop disruption at the farm and how that affects being at the farmers markets? And then also, give everybody a pep talk about being at the farmers markets in the rain because you guys are great and you're always there.
Sure. Like Bridget's market, rain or shine. Most markets are rain or shine. So, from a farmer's perspective, you need to know what you're going to harvest 3 days ahead of time. So you need to know if that, I mean, we're always constantly watching the weather. Is it going to rain? Is it not going to rain? Last week we experienced a rainy week and a beautiful Saturday, Sunday. So people showed up expecting us to have a lot of product. Well, we just got probably the most amount of water, rain this past week than we have in a long time. So, um, harvesting is definitely difficult in the rain. If you grow certain items and they're not protected, it's a little more tricky. Bringing quality to the farmer's market. Um, and farmer's market, you always want to bring your best quality. Sure, you might have a little small defect on an item or two. You can explain that, but you're not going to sell volume. Um, and then if you are going to experience a rainy farmer's market, just be prepared. Be prepared as much as you can. Think about your shoppers coming in. Um, have a canopy. Because I do have multiple canopies, just make it as dry as you can underneath the canopies. Um, and then weigh your tents down. Make sure every single tent leg is anchored down. I think that's huge to have because you never know. You might get a wind gust that comes in and lifts all eight of your canopies up in the air. So, um, yeah, I think that and just don't bring as much product. You know that sales are going to be, suffering a little bit. So be there, show your customers that you're willing to be there for them, and you'll get some loyal customers that come out, especially in Southern California. We don't get many rainy days, so got to make it fun for them. Sometimes I'll do, rainy day specials, and that's what drives the customer, in, and it makes them feel good, makes them feel, that they made that effort, and it was, it made an impact on the farmer. So food still grows no matter what. You have it, you got to bring it, and you got to pay the bills, which you got to make something on a rainy day. So yeah,
Yeah, I think my mom always taught me that as a market manager. Once the food's been harvested, you can't stick it back in the ground.
yeah.
So we're going to be out there. The market's going to be operating so that the farmers can sell their produce. So that's just something that's always stuck with me, and that's why we're out there no matter what. Andrew, any tips for making it work on those not so sunny and
Yeah.
75 days?
Kind of what Mike was saying, keeping your underneath your tents as dry as possible. So either having an extra space for somebody to gather. I create like little gutters in between where the tents go, so water just runs to the back rather than piles in, and then whoever's lucky is under there is going to get a nice, little shower. So things like that. Sales are down, but they're still not bad. So it's definitely worth going. It's definitely worth harvesting going. I would say on average they're maybe down 15% for me. But those are the markets that I make sure I have my foundation of what I bring. And then I just don't bring the little extras of flowers and the extras of, little tidbits. Just work on your regulars on that one,
Yeah.
because those are the ones that are going to show up.
Yeah, you can really tell who your like diehard shoppers are when the
Yeah,
weather's not perfect and they're just out there and
Yeah.
they're out there in their raincoat and they brought their bag and they're just ready to buy from you. So, I
yeah,
mean,
it's still
for
there.
me, it's a good kind of to see like how good the market's doing. Who's out. Are people coming out in the rain? That means you have a good market that's,
Yeah,
going to do well. So, and yeah, again, I know some other markets in different parts of California, they can get like long stretches of real bad weather. So, I'm gonna want to focus on farmers markets in this session, but I know there's other avenues you guys do. Like, do you do pickups or deliveries anywhere when if you have extra harvest to unload? I mean, Mike has a really robust CSA program, so I know folks can just come get boxes from them. But do you have any other avenues that you do to, or what do you do with product that if you have extra product?
for me, I work with a couple smaller restaurants that can change their menu seasonally or weekly or so forth. So I'll have a list of like 5 to 10 different small chefs that I say, hey, like I have, 10 pounds of arugula. Can you run a special with it? Then we drop it off either on the way out, things like that. So just having a couple chefs in your back pocket that are willing to be there for the cause and help you out. Because honestly, with them, I've never had a excess amount of going to waste. So that's usually how I will offload anything extra, and they pay still the top dollar, and still, it's not like it's bad. So, yeah, I'd say that's how I use any
Great. That's a
excess.
great way to reduce waste, having those connections and being able to contact them when, have even if you have, if it's not weather related, but you just grew a bunch, maybe you had like the harvest was really great that season and you have extra, like who can you connect with and have
Yeah,
that connection ready. So make those connections ahead of time, it
big
sounds
time,
like, and then
big
you can
time.
have them ready when you have extra stuff. Mike, what are some things that you guys do? I know you do a lot of markets and you have a
Yeah.
lot of other avenues to sell your product, but do you ever end up with waste that you have to get creative with?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always good to have a couple outlets in your back pocket, like Andrew's saying. Chefs definitely. I think what really helps us is having, an online platform, a newsletter, a way for customers to still reach you outside the market. Something that we learned with COVID. Um, Thankfully, we had our online platform already established. But if there is a farmer's market that gets closed down, for me, it's a pickup point for my CSAs. So um, I got to figure out a way to get them their boxes. So either we do a home delivery, but we offer they can add on other items. It turns into a customized box. But it's got to be, and then we charge them for a home delivery fee. There's a home delivery fee added to that. Um, but yeah, just having chefs, having different outlets that you can drop off. I mean, Feeding San Diego will always take product, and there's a lot of programs with these food banks that they're willing to pay not table price, but a high wholesale price where they'll take on high volume to help out a farm. Um, I think just being having that connection with the customer, sending them a newsletter or sending them a message. We have an online platform, so we use MailChimp. We can get to them. Hey, market's closed, but guess what? We'll be here tomorrow. Come buy your groceries there, So yeah.
Yeah. No, it sounds like this is great strategy too, to just kind of plan for that. And then if you don't need to exercise those avenues, then that's great. But if something happens, then that's it. I've only ever closed two markets in my 15 years, and one was Pacific Beach. We always open, okay, and see what's going on. But it was a pretty bad storm and the wind was bad. So we had to shut down a couple of hours in. And I remember the JR Organics truck. They just sat in their truck and people just drove in and picked up stuff from the back of their truck, and we kept part of the street closed, and their customers still came out, and it was just a pickup point after that, after we kind of closed up. So just really it was like that because they had a way to connect with their customers and tell them, hey, come pick up stuff from us. We'll put a box together for you. So really having those kind of ready, those avenues ready is important. There's some questions in the chat about online, like having a way for folks to sell online. As a market organizer, that's not something that I have ever organized, any kind of online sales for farmers or vendors. My job is to create a space where people come in person and get to buy straight from the person that's growing it or making it. And so I really value that in person kind of community that we're building. And so I don't ever like do anything online with sales or facilitate that at the markets. There are farmers and vendors that do have an online option, like Mike was saying, that their customers can buy things online. So that those things do exist for sure. And then surplus donations. So, and people coming to the market. So for the Saturday market, well, I do a Wednesday and a Saturday market. So on Wednesdays, there's a lot of markets in San Diego County. So I have had folks approach us about coming to the end of the market to get donations for things like shelters and food donation places. The farmers are really looking to kind of take their produce to the next market if they can. And so a Wednesday and a Saturday market, I've talked to farmers on Saturday, and they really don't have a lot to donate at the end of the day on a Saturday because they're going to, for the most part, take it to their market the next day on a Sunday. Or if they have anything that's about to go, they're going to maybe see if a chef can use it that night, or somebody wants to stick a little extra in their box. I think that, again, my orientation is to make sure that farmers are making money. And so just to be totally clear, I do not really I don't spend much time talking about farmers donating things because I think that they deserve to get paid for their produce. There are, tax benefits and things like that, but really as an organizer, I don't get involved with that with the farmer. If they're looking to do that, there's a lot of really great programs out there that do that. And I'm sure that they've reached out to the farmers at this point that have been farming for a long time. But yeah, at the farmers market, we're really there to sell. And the point of the farmers market is that they can, sell direct to consumer. They can make their own price point. And there's not a bunch of folks in the middle taking a cut of that. And so they can just, get the full cost of their product. And I find that that's important. That's an important part of the farmers markets that we operate. So that's that. But yeah, there are some, there's obviously some really great programs that work online and donation wise. Okay, I think we've kind of, oh my gosh, we're like right on time too at the end of our thing. I don't know if I missed any questions. I don't think so, but maybe we'll just see like last thoughts. Andrew, do you want to maybe talk about anything that we missed or anything that you want to
I
share?
wanted to touch on the online thing, what you were saying. I do think as a farmer perspective, using the farmer's market, kind of what Mike does as a pickup point or as a hub. So like what my future goals are to get an online platform where you can set pre-order stuff, So that's where I can see a farmer's market working together with an online platform is, someone on a Friday night can order a bundle of carrots because they know they're going to sell out by 9 o'clock, but they're not going to be there till 10. So they could already prepay and buy one and have it set to the side. But then it's already sold, and they're already coming for it. So I can see how that can be an advantage. So I wanted to put my 2 cents on that. But no, I think farmers markets in general have been a game changer for my farm. I wouldn't go any other route. Like you said, knowing your cost of production, you are getting your full. There's no middleman to kind of picks and choose. Cost of production is high, so there's not a lot of leeway and not a lot of give. So somebody's going to have to give at one point, and that's. But no, I think doing a farmer's market for a small farm, just getting started, is amazing because you can bring whatever you have, or if you're low on something, you don't have to be so in the making sure you're having 100 bundles of carrots to this wholesaler, and then you can't do it, so you're like fumbling. So yeah, I think any small farm out there that's trying to get into farmers market.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I think that's a good point too. Just kind of being able to navigate your own like product and what you're producing, and then being able to sell that and getting to know your shoppers that are coming there. It's kind of the whole reason for the farmers market. My job as the operator is to bring customers to you. So as a farmer in a farmers market, you don't have to worry that much about doing that. I love, you guys market your own farms as well, but really our job is to bring shoppers to you and to market you. So we do that for you. And if you can't sell stuff at a market that's bringing 20,000 people to the street, then that's that's a different kind of problem. But I think just, if I can bring shoppers to you and you can grow something great, then that's just the relationship that we have at the farmers market.
Mhm.
Mike, what about you? Anything to add before we close our session?
I think Andrew has a great point. If you're gonna start small, start at the farmers market. Trial and error for everything is how you learn. Bringing Swiss chard to the farmers market, you can grow tons of it, but if it's not going to sell, why would we bring so much of it, right? So I think everything just quantities um, is just trial and error at the farmers market. But the one thing that we really didn't cover is just that I have here on my notes is being transparent, being genuine at the farmers market, building the relationship, but also being as transparent as you can, letting them know that you are in the field working, you're harvesting, you're on the farm. It's hard work, and people do appreciate that. For one example is that we do farm tours and we do dinners on our farm. So I think that kind of elevates the relationship and keeps them interested, and they get to come to the farm. They get to see the whole operation. We kind of open up our doors. We feed them with a nice meal, but they get to spend some time on the farm. And then they see what you're doing. They know that you're not spraying harmful chemicals or anything like that. You're not doing any shady business. They see the carrots, they see the Swiss chard, they see all those things at the farm, and then they see it at the farmer's market. So it definitely does build connection, even if it's a small gathering. I mean, I know Andrew's a 1 or 2 acre, but something on bringing the customer to the operation, and then it kind of hits them a little differently when they come and shop. They don't mind paying the top price for it, even though quality's there. But if you're asking for, you had a rough year and you need to get an extra dollar on your bundles, people will support it, because they've seen your operation. So I think just being transparent, and now with social media, takes some time, it takes some effort to do social media, but I think, being able to target so many people instantly is good. So we are trying to build our online platform as much as we can where people can reach out directly. But yeah, farm tours, farm dinners, bringing the kiddos out, it's always good. So yeah.
Now my kids love coming to your farm, Mike. It's been really great to help educate people and just really, again, there's so much distance between us and our food nowadays. It's just like farmers markets really close that gap and help people understand where their food is grown. And I think farmers just play such an important role in that. And I really appreciate you guys being a part of the farmers markets. It's really important work that you guys do. All the farmers that are doing everything, just, if you're thinking about coming to a farmer's market, I'd say come on out. It's good. It's good for your mental health too. Just get out there and socialize with people and get to know people at the market. For the most part, everyone's, so happy to be there. It's such a happy place. So really appreciate that. I think we're at time, and Evan's chilling on this chat, but I don't know if he's going to do a closing thing. Oh yeah, okay.
I'll just say a big thank you
Good.
to all of you all for coming out here and everybody for showing up for today's workshop. And I hope you all head out to the farmers markets, sell lots of vegetables, and connect with your local community. It really is not just a great way to buy food, but it's a really great place to connect and build community. So thanks for being a part of this. And we hope to see the rest of you at the next workshop here at the California Small Farm Conference.
And feel free to reach out to, you can find me my information at san diegomarkets.com. I can connect you with these guys too and come visit us at the market. Even if you're in different parts of the state, if you're ever in San Diego, please come say hi with the info booth and introduce yourself. So yeah, definitely reach out. I try to get to all the questions, but if you have anything else, you can DM my Instagram. That's probably the easiest. So all right, thanks so much. And thanks, Evan, for having us. And again, thanks, Andrew and Mike, for joining me on here on this Monday morning,
You.
Thank you guys.
and see you guys at the market.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks so much.